to Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Today is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It's a little cooler today than other days, but God is always merciful. We get some heat, we get some rain, it cools the ground, and the plants will grow. Of course, I heard a number of things people in agriculture are doing. I heard some very good reports. We're going to have to get some of them on the air to be more very specific in what it is that they're doing to help the nation. I want to appeal to those who have institutional knowledge in many different fields. They can make a tremendous contribution to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I'm appealing to them to call in, leave your name and number with the producer, and I certainly will get in touch with you because we are building a nation under God. When you look at the country today, it's falling apart. East, west, north, and south. We have to save it, Bahamians. And you can make your contribution. Let me speak to the young people also, because young people, 18 to 40, that's the age grouping, who can make valuable contributions. Now, you don't have the kind of experience that young people like me have. But there is a contribution you can make, and you're not constitutionally sound. That's point number 2. You need to know the Constitution. And those of you who want to sit as members of the House of Assembly, you can't be like them other fellas who know not an inkling about the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas. You have to be taught, Bahamians, and taught by one who knows. No guesswork. No maybe, no perhaps, none of that kind of crap. Actual constitutional knowledge which can save the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That is missing in the equation. And all the discussions that I've heard on the air, people writing things in the press, expressing their views and opinions. I have no problem with them expressing their views and opinions. Views, opinions, ideas, this, that, and the other crap that they express cannot help you. It has done nothing for the Bahamas for the last 50 plus years, going all the way back to 1973, when we became an independent nation. That means we have to build a nation on solid information, not misinformation. We've had too much of that, and that's why we're suffering so greatly today. There's tremendous division. People have isolated themselves. They're individualistic. A lot of that is in the country. We have to overcome that. But there are those of you who want to do better, and that's a good thing. I was very happy with that call I got yesterday when we were talking about the Constitution. There's some other things I want to discuss today, but everything is constitutionally related because the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. See, everything we do in this country has to be evaluated in light of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And when you don't do that, Bahamians, you go wrong. You're completely in error. And if you leave the Holy Bible out, come on, what do you expect? The Holy Bible and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is our unshakable foundation. With that kind of foundation, you can build any nation, anywhere on the planet. Because God is supreme, the supreme law of the universe is the Holy Bible, and the supreme law of the land is our Constitution. And I've told you many times in the past, supreme laws are never wrong. They're always right. Now, you may disagree with some things that you may read in the Holy Bible and you may read it in the Constitution, but that's your personal opinion. That's not going to change it one iota. If God says it, that's it. He don't ask you for no opinion. He's not interested in your opinion. Either you agree with him or you don't, and he knows what to do with you if you disagree with him. So you might as well get on board and agree. Whenever God says something, he has a lot to say about government. He has a lot to say about nation building. And I am asking the Bahamian people this time, listen to God. Stop listening to those other people who you've been listening to for the last 52 plus years. Has pushed them on the side. You've seen the damage. You've seen what has happened to this country. You didn't take God's advice. That's why we're in the predicament we're in today. And you certainly didn't take constitutional advice. So we're in a predicament today. We could change that, Bahamians. And we need you to be on board to bring change to this country. That's why there's some specific things that I would be doing, my team would be doing, the radio station wants to do, but we need your strong financial support. We don't have no rich man or rich group to support us on anything. Your contributions, your sponsorship of the radio station, of the rallies, of the town meetings we propose to have, of constitutional classes, every single thing has to be sponsored, Bahamians. Now, you have some good listeners out there. And I can tell you this for the first time. I might have mentioned it before, but let me mention it today. Listener response. In other words, I want you people who listen to the show. You may not necessarily have a business, but you earn some income. And your contribution to the show can go a long way. Maybe once a month, twice a month, once a week, twice a week, whatever. We could always line that up. That's why I told you to send me that email, 10,000 of you plus. Send me that email today, not tomorrow, not next week. We have to do it today while we have the time to do it. And you send that email to me, the state of the nation 242 at gmail.com. Let me repeat it slowly. The, T-H-E, state, S-T-A-T-E, of O-F, the, T-H-E, the nation. And the letters, the numbers, 242 at gmail.com. The state of the nation, 242 at gmail.com. Send me that email today, 10,000 of you. Send it today, not tomorrow, not next week. We need it now. Because we need your urgent support to save the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It takes the collective will of the people to do that. A lot of you good listeners, and that's fine. I ain't got no problem with that. But you can be listener supporters. You may say, Professor, I don't have no business, no big business. That's not a problem. You can make a meaningful contribution. I will tell you how to send it, Once you send the email to me, the state of the nation 242 at gmail.com, we'll tell you exactly what to do. And please put your phone numbers on the email now. I ask people to do that all the time because some things, when the emails come across my desk, I look at them, I see one number right there. Let me call this number right away and speak to this particular person. And now there's some of you, of course, we'll have to send you an email back, make some things very specific, and then you go from there. That's how it's done, Bahamian. That's how it's being done now. Now, once that changes, of course, I'll inform you and let you know. But that's the way it is. Send that email today. The state of the nation, call address, hold on, please. The state of the nation 242 at gmail.com. I think we have a caller on the line. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Professor Thompson, what's happening?
Hey, I'm right here, man. I'm working hard. I'm trying to save the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Well, I'm here to help you save it, Professor Thompson. Yeah, Carolina from Freeport, Bahama.
Well, I appreciate that.
So, you know, this is about the Constitution, Professor Thompson, and I feel in it. Although
okay.
We have a lot of casualty, this one hit me special because I love her and I love her family. You remember the lady who was crying out on Facebook to the Princess Immaculate Hospital, and the nurse slammed the door on her, and her blood was low, and she died right on Facebook?
Oh wow,
You remember in Nassau, Bahamas?
I don't remember it offhand, but I'm not contradicting anything you say.
Yeah, I know this with the Constitution because and she died and calling out for help in the hospital, and we could see live that one of the nurses slammed the door on her, and she died, Professor Thompson.
Okay.
And the Constitution stand for our equal rights,
Yes.
and that's still hurting me today. Although we have casualty and children dying and old people dying,
Caller,
that
I
lady right there, oh, Professor Thompson, she leave a legacy, and I have to keep it going.
yes.
She can't die for nothing, although we already dead, and
No,
they fighting us this matrix to stay alive, to keep up this matrix.
no, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I'm
Hello,
delighted that you brought it up. I'll speak to it when you finish.
Professor Thompson, I can't hear you too good.
No, I said I'll speak to it when you finish. I'll let you finish your point, and
Yeah, but
then
I want to clarify if you remember the young lady who died at Princess Margaret Hospital and she was on live.
no. What I'm saying is, I don't quite remember it right at the moment, but maybe there are others who might remember it.
Yeah,
Uh,
everybody saw it. It was in the Bahamas, and she was
okay.
crying out. And she
No,
have her husband still alive today. I don't know him. I don't know where he at right now. But oh, um, we can't let her go through that for nothing.
no, no. I agree. No,
We can't forget it. We can't.
but if her husband is alive, we would like for her husband to call into the show. He could leave his name and number to with the producer, and then we can speak to him off air. And if he's willing to cooperate even further, we can develop that story because we will need his cooperation to do it. And a lot of things like that happen, Kendall Hannah, in this country, and people just sit in the dark and allow it to happen. I'm delighted that you brought it up. It's something that's bothering you. I hope it's bothering all the people of Grand Bahama and the Bahamas in general. These are the kinds of things we need to deal with every living day of our lives. And we just let it slide. And people are dying. Children are dying. Young men in the streets are dying. In fact, we had one died. Was it last night? Last night, I believe. Yeah, it was. Yeah, on Manning Street. That's what they said. Call.
Professor Thompson,
Uh-huh.
she made a mark. She died in the hospital, so it's more bigger. It's more special. It's more warning. It's the hospital that we trust. It's the hospital that we go in for help.
Okay.
So it's more different than we talking about. She made a big statement in life, and we have to understand that statement.
And you said that happened earlier this year, right?
You remember? I'm not from Nassau. She from Nassau, but we get the nose, we get the pain. She was alive. Everybody could see her. And she was crying out, and you can see one nurse slam the door on her. Oh, I died with that woman. I died with her. I pain that hurt me. It hurt me so much that woman slammed the door.
Well,
That woman, that
no,
woman.
no,
Boy,
I can understand how you're feeling. I'd like to appeal to that family of this particular deceased lady if they will call Global Radio 99.5 today. They can leave their name and contacts with the producer. They may not wish to talk at this moment, but I'll talk with them privately first. And if they're prepared to go further, then we can develop the story. But we will need their cooperation.
political thing. We trying to make it a change thing, you know?
Yes. No, change has to be made in the countries, no doubt about that. There are just too many things that are happening. That nurse needs to be disciplined. Uh, we need to know exactly who she is, and I think the family will be able to tell us exactly who she
That
is.
nurse, I can't say they ain't fighting up on her. I can't say nobody had no sympathy and call her out and she. What kind of children, grandchildren she got? She's an evil woman. Y'all have a good day.
Yeah, thank you, caller. The caller is very disturbed over an incident that occurred at the Princess Margaret Hospital. And let me just say this to the Bahamian people. This is why I try to get people to understand. You need to be organized on the ground in these constituencies where you live. I'm not satisfied with what I see. Very dissatisfied. While people may call the show and complain, fine. That's not good enough. We need more than that. We need your participation. We need your financial support. We need you to back it so we could do more than what we're doing now. A lot of people believe in talking, and I'm not going to knock them for that. But Damons, we have to do better than that. Here's a lady that passed away in the hospital, and she was denied medical attention, according to what the caller said. And I'm not thinking the caller is making the story up, so I'll accept his word. But I'd like for the family of that lady, the deceased lady, please call Global Radio today. Leave your name, your contact numbers. Let me speak to the family so I could get more specific details about it. I have no doubt to disbelieve what the caller has said, but I'd like to do it a little bit more responsibly before I delve into it. And this is where we need the cooperation of people. See, I keep saying to people with a lot of institutional knowledge, you just sit right in the community and let it die. The community dies, you die. So where does that leave us? Nowhere. There is no progress, no movement. The motto is forward, upward, onward, together. That is not being lived out in the constituencies that you live in. We need to wake up to that, Bahamians. It grieves my spirit as it grieved the spirit of this caller, Kendall Hanna from Grand Bahama. And if any of you who saw what he saw and remember it, then you can call in and speak to that issue yourself. I'd like to get more details on it, but I would like to speak with the family of the deceased lady. Her husband, yes. Her sisters, her brothers, close relatives like that. I'd like to have a conversation with them before we open it up a little bit wider, so I could get more understanding of what actually went down in that particular case. In fact, too many people are dying at Princess Margaret Hospital. And while I'm on that, I have to use the 66 steps every day to get to work, okay? Which is called the Queen's Staircase. I'm going to appeal the Antiquities and Monuments Organization. You have to tell your people to be more courteous, to be more respectful for those young people like myself who have to use those steps. And those steps are very steep as you come down. It's because they blocked off the other entrance where young people like myself, you could go down a little bit easier. They haven't opened it yet. But what has been happening is you have these people who say they're talking to tourists, and they block the railings. They never tell their people, go to the left. If you're coming up the stairway, use the railing on the left. If you're going down the stairway, use the railing on the left. Simple, basic, fundamental things. People just don't get it, man. And I had to tell those tourists, please move out of my way. And the particular personality talking to them, I said, you need to talk to your people. Why do you have them blocking up the stairway like this? Those steps are steep for young people like myself. We have to, the railings are very strong, so it's not a problem with the railings. But when people block up the railings, talking about they talking to tourists, give me a break, man. If they want to stand in the middle of the stairway, fine. Just leave the railings clear. If they're coming up, they come up on the left. Use the railing to the left. They're coming up the stairway, they're using the railing to the right. Come on. All you do is make it difficult for persons who live in Fort Castle like I do, and other young people like myself, who want to use the stairway for us to get into town. I have to use it every day to get to work. Now, there are times when it'd be clear, and that's good. But there are times when they got the friggin' stairway blocked up with people. Now, if they want to talk and they stand in the middle of the stairway, fine. Just leave the railings clear so we can get down safely. They ain't got no bed in this Princess Margaret Hospital. So we have to avoid bodily injury. We have to take precautionary measures. And I can get, Mr. Producer, you need to look for the numbers for antiquities and monuments. Let me talk to them people over there. Because a lot of crap is going on in Fort Wayne Castle. These strangers, these foreigners, these aliens, these outsiders, coming into our community, making money and being a nuisance to us who live there. I detest that. I don't need anyone coming into an area where I was born from birth and have lived there all my life. These people say they want to give them the history of the steps. Fort Wayne Castle, the Water Tower, and the Queen's Stairway. I've been there all my life. The point is, Bahamians, we got to get it right. And what I've noticed with our people, simple, basic, fundamental things that affect the average person is overlooked. And that gets me very angry. I get very upset about that. So once Medusa gets Antiquities and Monuments, I'm going to tell them about that. Because it's a hazard to anyone, even people not as young as I am. They've got to stop blocking the stairway, the Queen's staircase, when they're having these people with their tours. Antiquities and Monuments, we need to give them instructions. Because they don't think. And these are people who don't live there. But they come up there to make money. Talk about they showing the tourists around. I have no problem with them if they're qualified to talk to the tourists. I'm not into that. But I am into the fact that they are blocking up the stairway, causing it difficult for young people like myself to get where we need to go safely down the stairway, because they're very steep as you go down. And it could cause unnecessary problems. And I believe avoiding trouble. And I've had to tell them a couple of times about it. But I'll call Antiquities and Monuments them today. Because this is absolute foolishness and nonsense. One fellow was barking coconut right at the top of the stairway, right where the railings are. And they don't clean up nothing properly. They leave the crap right there. For someone to trip and fall, either they're coming up or going down. That's a hazard. So, Kendall Hannah, thank you very much for that. And any one of you who may have some understanding and any other similar situation, because too many people are dying in their hospital. That has become a death trap to many families. But it's supposed to be a place where you're supposed to get medical assistance, medical help. When people keep dying in there, it becomes a death house, Bahamians. No longer a hospital. I'm going to speak the example of my own mother, who worked there when it was the Bahamas General Hospital in 1943, when she graduated. First class registered nurse, did a 4-year course in 3 years, top of the class. She wanted to be a doctor, but you know, those people back then denied my mother and others like her from going to school to learn to be a doctor. I've never forgotten that, you know. My father was a professional engineer at PEC. Now, the white minority government couldn't do without nurses. They needed them to take care of their sick people. They were more interested in that than interested in other people of color. And they needed people like my father, a charge engineer, who learned on the job, because he was also denied going away to school. That's how the system was back then. And they always kept the lights on. And these people supposed to be better educated and they can't keep the friggin' lights on. What happened? Those people back then were committed and dedicated to their jobs. These others looking just for money. And it doesn't matter whether your stuff gets spoiled or your machines get ruined. Doesn't matter to them because they never compensate people for the damages that they are doing. That's another problem we need to look at, where the collective will of a people comes into play. And the other problem about the hospital, again, families have been affected very badly, and you've been sitting out there suffering for all this time. But you don't see the wisdom of pooling your resources together to take action. So you keep suffering, one suffering after another. I believe I got to go to break. I hear the music. My producer's being very patient with me. This is Professor Sidney McGrath of Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. This is Express Yourself, baby. I want you to express yourself, but I want you to do something also. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Express yourself. The lines are open 326 0272 813 0271. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson. We'll be back after the break. that there are certain privileges we have as hosts of radio shows. It doesn't mean we have more rights than you now, so don't misunderstand what I'm saying. It is just that we have an option to do better than most people because some of you have the opportunity to assist the nation, but you don't do it. Now, there's some things that I'm involved in at the national level. I did mention that before. And I told you every matter that I deal with at the national level, I always will win. You know why? Because it's constitutionally sound. That's why. The Constitution is never wrong. The Holy Bible is never wrong. So you stand on that, you straight. You ain't got to worry about what people say and what they do. There's nothing to do with that. God could knock them out anytime. That's why I tell you to trust Him. This coming election, I am calling on the Bahamian electorate to trust God. Whenever God says something, it's final. That's it. And He's not going to lie to you like some other people have been doing for the last 52 years. Misleading and deceiving you. God doesn't do them kind of things. He just tell you the truth. Just accept it as He give it, because that's the best way to go. I think we have that tape ready. My producer has that tape ready. Go ahead, Mr. Producer.
Notified by one of our patrol unit sometime around 8:15 p.m. One of our rescue unit were on routine patrol when officers reported traveling west on the correction that'll be east on Manning's Drive, and when their attention was drawn to a vehicle that was engulfed in flame from a distance. So as they were proceeding in the area of that vehicle to investigate, they were able to come across another vehicle that was just west of that vehicle that was engulfed in flame, and their attention was drawn to a dark male that was lying face down on the ground next to a four-door dark-colored vehicle. Officers conducted control room, who was able to send EMS personnel to the area. They arrived on the scene, made the necessary checks, and determined that the body was lifeless. They know that he is a dark-colored male who appears to be in his late 30s or early 40s. We are appealing to anyone who may have been traversing this area, whether by vehicle, whether by feet, pedestrian, or persons who just live in this nearby area may have heard something, that they could provide this information that will assist us in advancing this investigation.
Okay, I can agree with the police on people assisting the police in that investigation. We don't know the circumstances. We'll speak what was said to us by the police themselves. Two vehicles. One was engulfed in flames. The other one, person found dead nearby the vehicle, a dark-colored male, late 30s, maybe early 40s, mature individual. And, you know, these kind of situations are very disturbing. And I believe we have to get to the root of it, what's causing it, why are we finding these situations. Another person who has been murdered on the ground, and just face down, he said, face down. All right. Now, you have two vehicles. He couldn't have been in all two of them, so some other persons had to be involved. One way or the other, one was on fire. I don't know if there was anyone else. Well, he didn't say there was anyone in that when they checked that vehicle. Or if they did check it, we are not quite sure. Let me put that in. I'm not quite sure whether they did. But I'm sure they saw it in the distance and they found another vehicle where this particular individual was. The point is this, Bahamians. I don't know about you, but I get very disturbed at the heavy loss of males in this country. Very disturbed over that. We need all the males we can get. Now, some people were talking about the government building a hospital for women and children. And there are some who feel they need to have a hospital for the men and the boys. But we're losing too many men through violence. Now, there has to be a solution to that. I do not see where the men in the various communities on the ground coming together for positive action to uplift the men of their community. I don't see that. Now, if there's anyone out there who knows that is happening, you can call into the show and let me know about it today. Because similar situations like this, what the police describe, has been going on for too long in this country. And then we get so numb to it when we hear the report. And I'm not blaming the police for bringing the report. We should report on everything. And that's fine for me. But the point is, we get numb until it's one of our own family members, and then we cry out. But behemoth, this is someone's son, somebody's father, somebody's uncle, somebody's brother, maybe brother-in-law to someone. We don't know. But the person is deceased. So all that he had, if he had any institutional knowledge, what he may have worked, may have created, whatever he did, all of that died with him. And this is what I'm keep saying about us as a nation. We're losing too many men. That's point number one. Point number two, we have people who are dying, not on the street necessarily, but in their homes, who have institutional knowledge which can help those communities, which can help the nation as a whole. We're not benefiting from it. They say to themselves, this is for me, myself, and I, and it dies with them. They never share it with anyone. We've got to get a handle on the murders. Now, of course, the Free National Movement, they gave out a plan. I have to look at that very closely. 10-point plan to deal with crime. And of course, the opposition party, well, not the opposition party, governing party, they made some political remarks about it. And this is what happens between the two parties that are in the House of Assembly. Well, you got three now, three parties in the House of Assembly. But basically the two that were there from the beginning of independence. And you have this back and forth over and over and over again. When the party is in government, when the party is in opposition. Now, there's some things that individuals can do. Present a proposed bill in the House of Assembly. They don't have to wait until they become the government of the day to present anything. They can work with what they have. Put it on the table now. Let us see what the reaction would be by members of the House of Assembly who are there today. Let the people see it. Nothing should be held back, particularly as it relates to crime. It's a very serious matter. We're losing too many lives. Now, I understand if the statistical information is correct, the count is 5 per 100,000. That is what is accepted. 5 deaths per 100,000 per year. Now we got 300,000. I don't know, 300,000, 400,000. The numbers are skewed. I don't know. But let's say 400,000 since they say it's supposed to be that. 5 by 4, 20. So we should have no more than 20 deaths in a given year. 15 to 20 for 300,000. 400,000, 20, but not more than 20. But you know what we have now? We got 58, I understand. 58, 59 deaths, murders in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. They don't just look at the island of New Providence. They look at the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That nation is a violent nation because the per capita of the numbers of persons we have in this country compared to the amount of deaths is much higher in countries where there are millions of people. We have close to 100 or more deaths from murders every single year. It looks to be headed for another 100 this year, 100 last year, 100 and more than the year before. And then you find that some persons have committed 2, 3, or more murders, and they are on bail. They just passed legislation on bail. The thing is that these people who are let out on bail, not necessarily all of them, but particularly people accused of killing people, some of them are committing more murders. So that's 2 deaths, now 3 deaths. When the court makes a stupid decision to talk about the sentences are going to run concurrently, meaning at the same time. I think my producer has that next tape. I think this one comes from the Prime Minister. That means when the Prime Minister speaks, please listen carefully. Because see, I can listen carefully to what he is saying, and then I will analyze it, and you call in and you will express your views on it. Go ahead, Mr. Producer.
The fight continues, and the event of last night has raised the bar for vigilance and further saturation in areas where we think hotspots might spring up because of that incident last night. And I think the police will be meeting the task of ensuring that there be no outbreak as best they can.
Notice what he said. The police will meet the task to make sure that there may be no outbreaks as best as they can. Now, here's a police force that's been around for a very long time. One thing with them now, they got all kinds of statistical information. They ain't short on that. They got all kind of evidence. They got guns, they got drugs, they got this, they got that. And of course, the government is depending on the Royal Bahamas Police Force to do its job. They have a function to do. It is the duty of the government of the Bahamas to keep people safe. Now, I don't know why we didn't hear from the Minister for National Security, but the Prime Minister, he can overrule any minister. He has that kind of authority. So if he wants to speak on crime, he wants to speak on immigration, he wants to speak on anything, he can do it. It's not necessarily not constitutionally sound, so let me put it that way. But once you have a Minister for National Security, we should be hearing from that particular person because he's appointed a Minister of National Security. We should hear from the Minister of National Security. Now, in the event of some extreme emergency that is of national importance, we should hear from the Prime Minister. That's when he should take the lead. Now, of course, this is a sad occasion that happened last night, Munnings Drive. Remember they had one big block there, or several blocks there, where a woman was coming around the bend and she smashed right into it. Dark, it was very dark, no light, nothing like that. And these blocks were in the street. She crashed right into the block, big, huge block in the middle of the road. That ended her life. I think I understand if my report is correct. She's coming from the airport. People are concerned when these things happen. We don't know who the relatives of this particular individual is, but the police will do their investigation. I am hopeful that the police can get information. That road kind of a little deserted, but there may have been some people who have some understanding, who can report to the police and assist the police in getting accurate and precise information. And I hope when I call on the police, particularly as it relates to statistical information, I can get the same thing from them. And you should be able to as well. Because we want to report as accurately as we can. The point is, they have now, see, the police force is a force that has institutional knowledge. You have a lot of people that went through it, a lot of commissioners, assistant commissioners, superintendent, chief superintendent, all kind of titles. So you would call it an institutional information system they have there, which can be a benefit to the country. So we hope that they can deal with this. And another thing what concerns me is they got so many things to investigate. And knowing carnal nature the way I know it, the police may run into some roadblocks in investigating some things, and they are not, well, let's put it this way, they should not just accuse someone of something wrongfully. But let's hope that that's not happening. But they're supposed to investigate, and sometimes it may take some time for the investigation to be complete. But they're overwhelmed with investigations. There's another one that happened last night. They got to investigate that one too. And all the incidents that happened this week. You had a man who went around stabbing people in the neck. One of them dead in the hospital. The bus driver was stabbed in his neck. The man walking, was it College Avenue, or near to somewhere in Oaksfield, he was stabbed in the neck. So this fellow liked to stab people in the neck. But one of his victims is dead. How do you think that family feels? These are the kind of tragedies families are going through in this country. But I do not see any organized movement on the ground in any constituency in this country to deal with these social issues that affect the Bahamian people. I don't see it. Because I remembered saying more than a year ago to the Bahamian people, and I asked the question about the constituency, what major constituency problems have been solved in your local constituency? But no one has been able to answer. But you live there. Some of you have been living there for more than 30 years. You mean to tell me you are numb as to what's going on in your constituency? I know what's happening in Centerville, I could tell you that. I know what's happening in Fort Fincastle, I could tell you that, because I live there. And I get on relatively well with all the people in Fort Fincastle. I got to have them get on well with me, because sometimes you can't depend on the police. They have to be the police for you. Because I've said several times on this radio station, I'll say it again today, that joint they got there on East Street North, which is called Central Police Station, is weightless to the people of Fort Fincastle. Then you got police headquarters right opposite Prison Lane and the Barracks Lane. Hold on, caller, don't go nowhere. Just hold on. Let me make this point. They have all that technology and all of that system they got there. And just like we don't exist. We're right outside the gate. And they never come into Fort Fincastle. They go south, they go north, they go west. But they never come east into Fort Fincastle. We've been there before the police even set up there. Fort Fincastle was there. We don't get any attention from them. So that Central Police Station is weightless. And when I call police headquarters, the woman tells me that's an easy fix. They ain't got fixed yet. But these are people who running things, talking foolishness and nonsense. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please. Caller, you there? Mr. Producer, I don't hear the caller. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please. Okay, maybe the caller is gone. The lines are open 3260272 8130271. The point is, when Kendall had a call into the show earlier today, and he talked about what happened in Princess Margaret Hospital, and he was very disturbed over it. I do not believe that you are angry enough. Because scripture says, be angry and sin not. You're not angry enough to do anything about these things that affect your daily life every day of your life. You let it slide. You see why we don't get anything done? Because you, as citizens and maybe residents of the country, you're too individualistic. That's the kind of problem we have in 2025. Too individualistic. In these communities, in these constituencies, you're not caring for your brother or your sister. How you get like that? There's no real love and affection. Scripture says, without natural affection. You mean tell me you ain't got no natural affection? Father and son, no natural affection. Mother and daughter, no natural affection. I was always my mother's child. I was always my father's child, even when we became adults. It didn't mean they didn't treat you as adults now. But I wish Mommy and Daddy were here today, and I keep thinking about them all the time. They were a strong covering for me. I had nothing to worry about when they were around. They took care of everything. I was quite content to live with Mommy and quite content to live with Daddy. And some of you out there don't even know who Daddy is. You don't know who Mommy is. And that hurts children. And the children are disorganized and they have to be here today and over there tomorrow and over there next week. No, sir. Not with my mother and father. You come under their roof, that's it. Either they're going to develop you and work with you, or you go elsewhere. That's the way they did it. And I'm going to follow that example. Excellent example. Plenty of children out there need parental supervision, don't have it, because Mommy is irresponsible, Daddy is irresponsible. And we need to get parents to please look out for the children. They're in more danger today in 2025 than it was decades ago. We have too many predators. And I got to get the Ministry of Education too about if they have a strong policy about homosexuals teaching in our schools, because they seem to like downplay that. But we got to bring that up there, Amy. Here is a male teacher in the friggin' school going after boys. You want that for your son's parents? Is that what you want? You are comfortable to have a homosexual teaching your child or a lesbian teaching your daughter? You comfortable with that? I'm not. That's something we need to bring to the forefront. But I noticed that they kind of downplay that. But I can play it up. You can find out from the Ministry of Education. Because you got some strange people out there with some strange views that are not godly. And they're messing around with our children. In sports, it's the same thing. You got to vet them. I've been in sports for a long time. But we didn't have these kind of problems back in those days. But now today, what do you have? You got to vet everybody. Every person has to be vetted. And the vetters themselves need to be vetted. Do you know that? Because they may be culprits themselves. You see how complicated this thing is? The people who doing the vetting need to be vetted. Who's going to vet the vetters? That means you got to help me with this one now. I brought it up. You help me with it. Do you want homosexual teachers in your schools? Do you want lesbians in your school teaching your daughters? That's what you want? Give me a break. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Don't keep your about pin up on this payment because it's affecting this nation badly. You got some wicked people out there messing around with people's children. And you as parents need to be more responsible. You're not as responsible as you should be, and you let the children run loose and run wild. That has to stop. The lines are open 3260272, 8130271. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. The numbers are open 3260272, 8130271. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. Express yourself. We'll be back after the break. refresh yourself. Payments, it's good to be on the air. I am enjoying my work here at Global Radio Net 99.5 FM. I did tell you I'll be here until the band comes back, so I got to stick around. The point is, Bahamians, we need you to support what is being done here and the other things that I and my team would like to do to be able to assist to save the Commonwealth Bahamas. Producer, we have a call on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Professor Thompson.
Hey, what you say, man?
Hey, you could hear me, huh? Could you hear me?
You're clear, very clear. Clear as crystal.
Yeah, okay. Or the Freeport.
Oh, yeah, on the Freeport. Yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah, Professor, answer to the question you asked. No, we don't want homosexuals nor lesbians dealing with our children in school.
Does the ministry, wait a minute now, hold on, slow down a little bit. Does the ministry have that policy? Do you know whether they have that policy?
I don't know. Well, they don't. I don't think they vet people like that.
You mean they just let them
they
come
qualify intellectually. They
in?
let
No.
them.
The intellectual thing ain't gonna work. You're messing around with these girls, you're messing around with these boys, and then the boys think there's woman, the girls think there's man. What is that?
Well,
You can tell my grandniece, and I got grandnieces and nephews now, you know. Two females, one is the mother, one is the father. You can tell them that piece of crap.
It's confusing. Very confusing.
It is very confusing. I concerned about them.
Yeah,
Because they won't know the difference. Yeah, go ahead.
Sometimes I wonder, we should have enough common sense to know that when God made us, He made a man and He made a woman.
Yes, He did.
That takes care of everything right there.
Right.
I shouldn't have to go any further with that.
The ministry, I got a final from the Ministry of Education. And I asked my producer to get their number for me too, because we got a final from them, man. I noticed they haven't said anything about a public policy about homosexuals and lesbians teaching in the friggin' schools.
Well, they're not going to say anything because there's so many of them.
Oh, plenty of them in there.
They're kind of dominating now, you know.
Oh, they're dominating? Well, we got to expose them.
A lot of them are there, so
we got to
they're
expose
not going to
them.
touch that. Then you have so many of them in high places. So many of them in politics. You know that. They're in politics. And you got some of the radio station loading down with them. They're all about, you know.
Shucks.
So it's
What did Donald Trump do? What did Donald Trump do?
Well, you know, he don't play when it comes to
But
that.
then we need a Donald Trump. Well, let me withdraw that. Let me withdraw that.
It's only for that.
We need someone or some people to stand up and tell the government of the Bahamas, we're not dealing with that kind of crap. Because too many children are being molested.
We changed a lot. You know, we were not like that a few decades ago, but right now it's really bad. It's really bad.
It's extremely bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
So, Professor, I got an idea here. You know, we're having so much problems with the illegal immigrants.
Yes, we are.
But I'm wondering now if, you know, we were to change, I guess we'll take a new party to do that, change the passport to a green passport instead of the regular passport that we have now, so it can be re-vetted and find out exactly who these people are that having these passports that's not illegal.
That's a good look.
We need to do something. I think I will hope that would be something that we can do, change the color of the passport.
Of course, it could be done.
You know, have a green passport, and then those ones, then in time to renew, they'll find out who they are, and that's the way we can regulate the system. But right now, it's really
it's all topsy turvy.
It's all messed up right now.
That's right up, yeah.
I don't know who's gonna. These guys in power wouldn't do anything about it. You know that.
Well, we could compel them. That's one thing, and that's why I said I'm not satisfied with what I see on the ground. I'm very dissatisfied, and that's why I'm calling on those young people, 18 to 40, to make a move.
Yeah, I'm saying the same thing. I'm saying the same thing. It takes the young people. The young people will be the one to change this government. I mean, because people like, you know, up in the 60s and 70s, they're so, you know.
Some people are set in their ways.
Yeah, set in their ways. You know, they're not going to do much. You can't tell them anything. You can't tell them that these guys are doing wrong or nothing like that. They don't listen to you.
Right.
The
that
young
is true.
people, you can focus on the young people, and I think that's the answer right there for the future. You have to get them interested in politics. Get them in.
That is why I am appealing to them to be organized on the ground in their constituencies. I told them in your campaign, don't ask nobody whether they're this party or that party, because that doesn't make any sense.
No.
All you're going to end up having is an argument. See, I know how they go,
Exactly.
They can't fool a young person like me. But the point is, the young people do not know constitutional law. That's their weakness. That's my strength.
We don't teach it. We don't teach it.
Listen, 52 years has passed in this country, and the government of the Bahamas is not interested in doing it. Now, they show you 52 years experience. How much more do you want? Now, you have to find an alternative way to deal with that. And there are alternatives. You can't wait on them anymore.
No.
And this crew you got there is where you put me.
It's true. It's a laughing stock. It's true.
So there isn't going to be any hope with that. So the Bahamian people have to take action. That's what I'm trying to get them to understand, the Constitution of this country. Basic fundamental principles about the Constitution. All of those persons who are going to be sitting in that house in the next session ought to know the Constitution sufficiently enough to be able to perform as representatives in the House of Assembly. Then as they go along, they could learn more and more and more, because there's plenty in that document to learn. Plenty.
Yeah, but we need to have the right people representing us. People.
Exactly.
Most of the members of, I'll not say most, but a lot of the members of Parliament, they can hardly even read properly.
That's true.
That
is
can
true.
debate. They don't know how to debate properly. I mean,
there's no debate.
We don't let them properly.
No, you're correct.
We can do better.
We can do much better than what we have now.
We can do better than that.
Very much so.
And I don't know why we continue to choose these people to represent us.
Yes.
You're putting people in areas that they're not familiar with. If you're having the minister for health, you should have a minister, somebody who's a doctor, a real doctor. Then it comes to finance, someone who's a banker or an accountant, not the prime minister. These kind of things, we need to change these things.
Well, it's very difficult and dangerous when you have the prime minister to be advised by the minister of finance, and it's the same person. You know how awkward that is? The prime minister is going to consult with the minister of finance, or the minister of finance is going to give advice to the prime minister, and it's all wrapped up in one person. Do you hear that, caller?
Yep.
Yeah, that's confusion.
It is. It is.
Okay. And when you look at the Constitution, it doesn't say that. See, the Constitution mentions three principal positions: Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, Attorney General. Those are three key positions that must be in the cabinet.
Yeah.
One fella deciding a whole two. You
That's
see,
right,
so
too.
you see the nature of the beast, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the problem.
One more thing, I'm going to hang up.
Yeah.
You remember, getting back into some more history, you remember you had, when Bay Street was really Bay Street, and the Bahamas really, we had good nightclubs.
We
really
did.
decent nightclubs,
Yeah,
Bahamian
plenty of them.
entertainment, fire
Yeah.
dancing,
Fire dancing,
Chippy, and
Chippy and
all of those.
team.
You had the place on Bay Street named Bar Ma, which Blind Blake used to sing in there.
Yes.
The Big Bamboo,
The Big Bamboo.
Peanut,
I remember
Peanut
the
Taylor. Yeah,
Yes, you're quite right.
but they're all gone.
All of them just disappear.
They all disappeared, and we haven't really done nothing to bring them back.
That's
Just that
correct.
we're having the kind of music that we have now is unacceptable.
Yes.
We don't have our culture anymore. Since it's been taken away from us.
Yes.
We used to be really Bahamian.
That is
just
true.
just go back to history a little bit, and I thought I'd just bring that up. But ponder on that for a while and see what we can do about trying to bring some of those good old days back here.
Okay,
Have a good
that's a
day. Have
good
a good day,
suggestion.
Professor.
That
Yeah.
is a good suggestion, and thank you for that call.
Yeah. Okay, Professor.
Thank
Take
you
care. Have a
very
good
much.
one.
Yeah, the caller made a good suggestion. I'm going to see if I can get. See, this is why I go back to talking about constitutional, not constitutional knowledge, because that's for me. Institutional knowledge about issues that others have expertise in, and I have to bring them on air so we can get their input for nation building. Now, when it comes to the Constitution, I can handle that single handedly with the team that I work with. So that part is not a problem. But a lot of these other areas where people have specialties and special training and special development and talent and ability that God has given them, we need those people to build the nation. All right? So that is very important that we have them. I think we have a caller, Mr. Producer. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Professor Thompson,
Yes, sir.
I want to respond on. You remember when you said somebody went crazy and stabbed the bus driver in the neck?
Well, I didn't say crazy, but it did happen. Yeah, the
Okay.
incident happened.
I want to respond on that. Okay, so now it's happening in the Bahamas now. Professor Thompson, you remember when a lot of people take the shot, the COVID shot,
Yes.
jab.
Yeah.
Okay, we all know now that's a bioweapon in our bloodstream. Whoever take the shot. So it's programmed. So when they talk about zombie apocalypse, say everybody who take the shot is going to turn into a zombie. They don't mean you're going to be like Dracula biting somebody's neck or nothing. It means when they type that whatever in and whatever number they call, and they type that in the computer and tell whoever take the shot and whoever they target, jump in the car and drive in the building, kill all these people. That's what they're gonna do. Go on the bus, stop up everybody. That's what they're gonna do. It's not controlling by the person. It's controlling by the bio weapon what they put in the computer. So I just want to enlighten the Bahamian people what's really going on. Deep knowledge, and you won't even try to knowledge it because it's so deep and scary. But it's happening.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for your call. Thank you for your call. Now, of course, people have their views on what happened in COVID-19. In fact, there are those who oppose people taking the shots. A number of people took them. They still survive. We have another caller, Mr. Producer, the tape. The tape? Oh, the clip is ready. Just give me a moment. I'm going to get to it. People have their views on COVID-19. Some are for the shot, some are not for it. Some took the shot, both shots, and of course, there are pros and cons on that. I hope that's behind us, but I seem to think that, it would appear that it's going to come on the scene again by certain other persons who want to push that issue again. But I think they're going to have some challenges with it. And Dr. Dal Regis, I don't know what has happened to her. She has moved off the scene. I don't know anything about her. I remember she was very instrumental in talking on the airwaves and advising people to take the 2 shots that were during the time of COVID-19. But that's a different subject, a different matter for another day. But there are those who feel you don't have to take it. You can use natural medicines to be able to deal with anything. I try hard to get as much natural medicines as I possibly can. And sometimes it can be challenging, but you just have to keep working at it. Mr. Bruce, you could put on the tape now.
Thank the Bahamas for supporting him all those years. And he's right here with us, telling us to keep the fight, keep the faith, don't give up, keep on fighting, don't let go, don't look back.
Yeah.
Looking back is death.
That's right.
We going forward.
That's
We
right.
going to the promised land.
Yes.
What you say?
Amen.
Amen.
I want to thank him for the foundations that he laid. I want to thank him for the legacy that he's left behind. I want to thank him for inspiring a young boy like myself, placing trust in me, but many others didn't during my sojourn with him on this earth. Also want to thank Lady Dame Marguerite Pinley for continuing to ensure that the memories and the legacy of your life continues to reign and not forgotten by many.
Yes, I think this is about the commemoration of Celinda's passing some 25 years ago, which is today, August 26th, when he did die. And Celinda Oscar Pinling was Premier 1967 and then 1973 Premier, Prime Minister. Let me make sure I get it right now. So he ruled for 25 years, I think 7 months and 9 days. That's the calculation. 25 years, 7 months and 9 days. He was Premier and then he became Prime Minister. He did a good work for the Bahamian people. He's the father of the nation. Mrs. Pinling would be the mother of the nation. And I think we need to honor Mrs. Pinling in that capacity. As the mother of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, she's still very much alive. Her voice is still very strong. She is advanced in age, but she is in pretty good shape for a lady of her age and has stood by her husband. Now, this is what women need to learn from Dame Marguerite Pinling, to stand by your husband. I think it would do well for the Bahamas if the women who are married to the Bahamian men will stand with their husband through thick and thin. Lady Pinling, Dame Marguerite Pinling, did that all her life, right up to now, and she still remembers her husband. She goes to his grave, Sir Lyndon Pinling's grave. And I think while that's all well and good, I think there ought to be some national celebration for the father of the nation where it gets a little bit wider than just the Pinling family itself. I'm not knocking Mrs. Pinling for what she is doing, and that's a good thing. But I think Sir Lyndon is the father of the nation. And so she knows he would want us to keep up the fight. We have unfortunately declined as a nation over that 25-year span since his passing. And if he were to wake up today and see the state of affairs of this country, he wouldn't be too happy about it. He would not be happy at all. Knowing the hard work that first cabinet did, Sir Milo Butler, Arthur Dion Hanna, Sir Cecil Wallace Whitfield, Sir Clifford Darling and others, Clarence A. Bain, persons who were real fighters for the Bahamian people. And if we have tapes on them, we should hear those tapes, just like they play tapes on Martin Luther King. We don't hear Sir Lyndon's tapes. We don't hear it on private radio. We don't hear it on public radio. Why? This is his anniversary of his passing. We should hear it when on his birthday in March. We should hear it in August on his passing. But they won't play other tapes from some other people. So we should hear. Because Sir Lyndon made a lot of speeches, he made a lot of statements which are beneficial for the country. We can use that. That's institutional knowledge. We can take the country to greater heights. That's what he would have desired. Forward, upward, onward together. We've been at a deep decline over that 25-year span since he died in 2000. We have to correct that. But here we are, the fight continues. We have to fight even harder today because unfortunately you have too many individualistic attitudes in our people. The collective will of a people would take us forward, upward, onward together. The last caller made some very important points. of situations we have in our country. And there's some things that need changing. We have to change the way we do business. Like I said, when you look at the Constitution, it mentions three main positions: Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, Attorney General. And we've seen where the Prime Minister takes over the position of Finance, Minister of Finance. I believe at one point Lyndon might have been Minister of Finance, but we had Carlton Francis, who was the Vice Minister of Finance. Arthur Hanna might have been, I'm not quite sure. I know he was Minister for Home Affairs at one point. But the Minister of Finance has an important role to play in the governance of the country, plus the Attorney General, plus the Prime Minister. So you have three key positions. Not less than 8 persons to sit in the cabinet along with the Prime Minister. The lines are open: 326-0271, 326-0272, 813-0271. And Bahamians, we need to celebrate the life of Sir Lyndon Oscar Pinling. I know a book has been written about him, Sir Lyndon Pinling. And he did a lot of work. He sacrificed his life for the Bahamian people. How many of us are prepared to sacrifice even as he did? Having to sacrifice his own family, spend a lot of time away from his own family to do the nation's business. But at the same time, his wife stood by him through all of that, good and bad. And that's a wonderful example of a Bahamian woman who ought to be emulated in terms of her strength as a mother, as a wife, as a grandmother. She might even be great-grand, I don't know. And she has done well as a Bahamian daughter from Andros. So we need to emulate that. And she is the mother of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And we need to recognize her as such. There are those who've done well, and there are those who've not done so well. But we can learn. We can change. We could repent. So Lyndon would want us to fight on, Miss Day Marguerite Pinling said. And I believe her. We have so many things to do, but so few people to do it because not enough of you are on board to change some things in this country. You're not ready for that. For some reason or the other, you're holding back. Why are you holding back? Don't you want the nation to progress? Are you prepared to sacrifice? Are you prepared to just stay in the dark? Is that what you want to do? And let the country die? That doesn't make any sense. We have thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of young people who will not necessarily get the opportunity to go to school abroad. They may have to learn right at the College of the Bahamas. It's a good thing. No, the University of the Bahamas. Let me make sure I get it right. It's now a University of the Bahamas. And there is some challenge with that. We still have a stranger, foreigner, an alien, an outsider who's still head of the University of the Bahamas. We can't find a competent Bahamian. All those Bahamian professionals that went through that university, or there was a college at that time, now university, we cannot find a competent, reliable, responsible Bahamian to head that institution. We still got a bunch of foreigners around here. I get very upset about that, you know. After 52 years as an independent nation, we still do not have a qualified Bahamian citizen to run the University of the Bahamas. Why? That's something we need to look at. And as far as the economy is concerned, we don't even own the economy. Foreigners own it. Foreign direct investment, not Bahamian direct investment. We're still working on the plantation. We're taking crumbs from the master's table. We don't own anything. And these people who are in charge have been benefiting for a very long time at the expense of the Bahamian people, at the expense of the taxpayers' money, and they give little or nothing back to the community. So we have to change all of that. A whole lot of things need changing so that we could have more owners in the economy. We got expanded Bahamians. You can't keep it the way it is. Locked up for a couple of people who want to bring in all this crappy stuff when we can grow it in the Bahamas. The farmers had to push back. They wanted to bring all that crap from the Dominican Republic. Give me a break, man. Which could grow here. Let's support the local farmers and let them make that money and grow it fresh right here in the Bahamas. And we know what we are getting because it would be of high quality. This is Professor Sidney Mercado Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. And Bahamians, we have to save our country. This is Professor Sidney Mercado Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We'll be back after this break. the show. But my producer tells me I only got 30 more minutes in the show, so I got to pack it in. I still want you to call into the show. You tell me whether you want any homosexual teacher teaching your boys. Huh? You want any lesbian teaching your girls? You tell me. Because we got to find out from the Ministry of Education what is the policy on that. Or are they homosexuals themselves? Or are they lesbians up there? Is that what we have? Bahamians, we have to take this matter very seriously. Because I certainly don't want no teacher telling my great-grand, I got great-grand nieces and nephews now, fixing their head with foolishness and nonsense about two females. The one is mommy and one is daddy. Give me a friggin' break, man. I can't even begin to fathom them in my head. And these young people going to get this kind of crap. We got to find out from the Ministry. We're going to find out from the Ministry of Education what the ruling is on that. We got to know. I believe we got a call on the line. Call you live on there. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, Mr. Professor.
Hey, what you say, man?
There you go. Boy, you powerful talk today.
Man, we got to know from the Ministry of Education whether they accept homosexuals and lesbians to teach our children.
Yes.
They won't beat around the bush with this. Now, if they're a
our
bunch of...
Constitution speaks clearly that through the preamble that we are sovereignty under God.
Yeah, we are, yeah. So some things you cannot accept.
No. See, once we get serious, we got to look at our spiritual benefit. Because when we go against God, in the word, we thinking we winning when we doing these evil, right? But then we look around, the trees crying, they dying,
Yes,
the people suffering. But then you look at them, you know who getting benefit from the evil. They build a big house with gates.
They can knock the house and the gates down.
Yo, no, but we ain't got to do that. All we got to do is what you say, Professor, repent.
Yes.
So we could get out.
What it means is when you check the record, you're going to find that those kings that did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, they had to rip up a lot of buildings that were idols in the
Josiah
land.
is a prime example.
Huh?
Josiah.
Yeah, definitely what I'm saying. See, there were those, and it can happen today, doing that which is right in the sight of the Lord.
Yes.
That's why I'm going to tell the Bahamian people in this election, they ain't going to be playing no games.
No.
We're going to listen. I'm going to tell them right now, we must take God's advice, which is clear-cut in the Holy Scriptures as it relates to governance of this country.
Yes.
And you got to stop listening to people who've been lying and deceiving and misleading you for the past 52 plus years.
Yes.
It's just as simple as that.
We have to prove him. See, Mr. Professor, I intentionally became independent because what that means, based on party, how we govern, in their minds, don't help that person. That goes across the board from the government parties to the supporters to just how it is. He was independent. We can't help you. We love you. We can't help you. What I did was I wanted to prove that my help comes from God.
Okay.
Because I'm still eating. I have to ask them for nothing. If they call me for their work, I do their work. You understand? And he's still providing for the handchild who's independent, speaking out against all of them who doing corruption. Because in order for us to get blessed, if we live in wealth, but why are we poor? Why are we in poverty? Because when I say poor, I don't believe that poor is defined by those who are able-bodied men and women and could work and choose not to. Poor is those who are disabled, who aren't able to feed themselves, and without the assistance, they would starve. So God said, look out for them, handchild. But to them, man and woman who have working hands and working foot, he said, encourage them, handchild. Motivate them.
No, you're correct on that point. Those 2 points there, you're correct on that.
You see? And then you talk about Mr. Pinlin and his wife and the example that set. That is why I'm proud to be married.
Okay.
And I'm proud to be a married man running for politics because I believe that a PM should be, as a sovereign nation under God, according to our Constitution, should be married.
Okay.
Because it's something that a mature man who's married brings to that office.
Okay.
You see, his wife brings a lot of help because the Bible says when two come together as one, who's in the
Okay.
midst? When two or three is gathered on one accord, who's in the midst?
God
You
says
know,
he's in the midst.
Professor. Huh?
God says he's in the midst.
Okay. So when me and my wife come on one accord, who's in the midst? God. When two come together, he said that's the church. So when he bring her together, we become a solid structure, a fixed church on the earth once we continue to follow God's guidance and instructions that his son Jesus Christ left through his word.
Yes.
In this time, and for me as a young man, that I have no excuse to say, oh, all have sinned and fallen short. Yeah, we sin, but that's why Jesus came. He came so we could not sin less, or we could sin less in the future, because if we follow his walk and his instructions, then we would be able to avoid sin, because because a righteous man is above the law. The law is made for persons who want to be unrighteous.
Okay.
You see,
All right.
and so I know that we are all heading in the right direction, and it may not appear that way, but that's just the birth, the pain. But once it's all done, once election is being called and we've all gone to the polls and we've all voted and we've all gone through that process, I believe our hard work will be rewarded through the Father, through the Son, and through the Spirit. So I'll be
Okay.
encouraged.
Yeah. All right. Okay then. Well, thank you for your contribution.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now God says very plainly in Proverbs 29:2, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. See, that's a straightforward statement from God. And the next statement in that same verse says, when the wicked bear rule, meaning you give authority to wicked people, the people mourn. Either you have a wicked representative or a righteous representative. Either you have a wicked government or a righteous government. See, God doesn't play games with that. That's the standard. So if we're going to have a righteous government, that means we have to have righteous people doing that which is right in the sight of God and the sight of man. We're going to have that opportunity to do that, perhaps in a very long time, because we've been having election after election after election. We've been listening to man. We're not listening to God. There are some very specific things God will tell you how to govern the country. And he ain't asking for your advice either. He just tell it to you, and that's it. He don't negotiate, because he knows people. He knows the heart and minds of people. We have to follow his advice. We follow his advice, we'll be better. We elect righteous people, then we have a righteous government. We elect wicked, evil, stubborn, carnal-minded, rebellious people who are against God, then what's going to happen? The people will mourn. All you do is look at the country today and see what's happening. Are the people rejoicing or are they mourning? Which is it? It's right in front of your face, Bahamians. So we must stop playing games with the lives of people. So what happened with that incident in Manning Street, I think it's called, or Manning Subdivision? The Prime Minister spoke to it early in the show. He played the tape, and I'm sure he's saddened by that. And the police, of course, are going to do what they can. They want people who have information to come forward and share that information. See, it requires cooperation from the public to deal with issues, just as it requires cooperation from the communities to find the right person. And I'm going to speak to that right now. Those who've been given the opportunity, or as being led by God, to run for a seat in the House of Assembly, they have to make their information known to the public, not just people in a particular area where they want to run, but those people have relatives in other parts of the country. And so if you keep this thing undercover and the people not know you nationally, even though you may be running in a particular constituency, it could be to your terrible disadvantage, because those persons out there who those constituents will know can make a connection which can cause things to work in your favor. That is why it's important for those who are serious about being a representative that they be known nationally. Because people are looking for answers. They want real answers to real problems, and they're not getting that. That's not happening today. We have to find righteous people so people can rejoice. If you elect a righteous representative, you'll be rejoicing until, from the time that person's elected to the very time the next election rolls around. And then the people can make a determination of whether they want to continue with that individual. But we need some rejoicing in this country, I'm going to tell you that right now, because there's too much death, too much destruction, too many lives being lost, too much sickness, too much disease, too much corruptible things happening in this country. You have a government, and there are some who will tell you not to depend on the government. What is the purpose of the government? But you got strangers, foreigners, aliens, outsiders benefiting from the government. So why Bahamians can't benefit? After all, it's our taxpayers' money. So why shouldn't we benefit? The whole purpose of having a government is to keep law and order in your country. And the government has agencies to enforce the law, the police force, the defense force, immigration, the prison system. These are all law enforcement agencies in their respective divisions. And it costs big money to support them. They got to get salaries and benefits and all them other things. Although I'm not satisfied with Central Police Station, I can tell the commissioner that. She need to do something with them. Because they do nothing to help Fort Wayne Castle. And police headquarters, I don't know. They right across the road from us. But I tell you, they go every place else except Fort Wayne Castle. But that's the way they do things. They think they're doing the right thing. But we'll fix that too. All that can get fixed. Because it comes a time, Bahamians, when you got to stop the foolishness. You stop the nonsense. You stop the crap. Suffering cannot go on indefinitely. 52 years is a long time, you know. And there are some people who have participated in the electoral process of this country. And they were hoping for better days, didn't see it. Now I'm very disappointed when I have to say that, because they should have seen it. They should have experienced it in their lifetime. So we can't let another 52 years go down the drain. And we have all these problems, all these burdens, all these sorrows, all this pain, all this agony. For what? It doesn't make sense. Like the last caller said, we have to repent. He said, I said that. Yes, that is true. You got to make some changes, Bahamians. And I am going to say to the electorate, you make sure you have God in your knowledge and listen to him. And if we take God's advice as to how to govern this country, we'll be straight. We will be relieved of a whole host of problems. Now, some tough decisions have to be made, because a lot of wrong things, a lot of crap is going on in this place, you got to root it out. And righteousness calls for that to be done. You can't sit back and say, oh, well, let it be. No, sirree, no, sir. Too many are suffering right now today in silence. That doesn't make any sense. And but the first caller who called in from Freeport talked about that particular family. Someone sent a text. Text, I'd like to ask you to please ask the husband, I won't call the name on air, of that particular lady to call the radio station, leave his name and number. And if he's willing, I'll talk to him first privately and see how it goes. And if he's willing to go further, then we can look into that matter. But plenty of you have similar situations. You know what you do with it? You just sit on it. That's why nothing happens in this country. Didn't you hear Lady Pinling say her husband would want us to fight? You're not prepared to fight? I'm prepared to fight, as young as I am. I am prepared to fight until the man comes back. Then he'll take over everything. So the thing is, we can do better. That's the thing. I don't see why we should be suffering like this when we can do better. If we were in a position where we couldn't do better, fine. We're not like in the Gaza Strip. We're not like how it is in Haiti, with a broke-up country like Haiti. We're not like how it is in Russia. We're not like how it is in some other places like Sudan. Yes, I got to remember Sudan. You see how rip-up that country is? Millions of people. Hundreds of thousands being displaced. That's bigger than the entire population of the Bahamas. It won't take much to displace the numbers we have here. But we want to let it get to that point. That's why I am trying to get you to move now while we have the time, while we have it under, well, we could get it under control. Let's put it that way. But we don't want it to get to the point where it keeps deteriorating so badly, nothing happens. Come on, Bahamians. You got to help me with this one. That's why I tell you to send me that email with your contact on it, put your phone numbers on it, and say, Professor, I'm prepared to assist and help in whatever way I can. Because there are things you can do. You good listeners can be sponsors. Listener sponsorship. Huh? Every bit of support is essential and necessary to save the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. See, if we do nothing, nothing happens. You have to give God something to work with. You have to have a willing spirit, a willing attitude, a willingness to obey Him. That's where we can get His blessing, we can get His protection, and you'll see God work on our behalf. He's been doing it even though we have done some things which we ought not to do, because there are some people in here who the Lord will hear and will answer their prayer. In fact, let me tell you something what is said in Matthew chapter 24. Some terrible days are yet ahead of us, Bahamians. Very terrible days for the entire world. And you know, God is going to act to prevent mankind from destroying himself. See all these nuclear weapons they got around here? Russia got nuclear weapons. The United States got nuclear weapons. And neither of them want no nuclear war. And you got some others in Europe who got nuclear weapons. None of them want a nuclear war. But it will break out at some point, because some mad dictator is going to rise to the top in one nation around the world. And we got a particular religious organization which is going to have tremendous influence over the entire world. along with the political systems of this world. That is yet to occur. And it's going to be extremely terrible. You know what God says? But for the elect's sake, that is the people of God, He will have to cut the crap short. Otherwise, everybody will be destroyed. That's in Matthew 24, 21 to 22. Great tribulation, great trouble, but the people of God will be protected. It's going to be a rough time on the world, but it won't blow up. Because some people are afraid that something's going to happen and everybody will be dead, or just a few people be floating around. You ain't got to worry about that. That is not going to happen. But there will be war. There will be massive destruction. But we have an opportunity to prevent that from happening to us in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We always like to pity ourselves about when talking about our neighbors to the north. Superpower, they call themselves. They don't want to even be the world's policemen. Why do people understand that? Mr. Donald Trump is interested in strengthening the U.S. economy, the U.S. nation. And you can't blame him for that. Our leaders ought to be interested in strengthening the Commonwealth of the Bahamas so we can have a stronger nation. Are they doing that? I put a question mark to it. Just look at what's happening in the country and see if that is happening. Are you satisfied with what you see? I see a whole army of strangers in this place. I don't know of any massive deportation. Mr. Donald Trump did that in the United States. It hasn't happened here yet. There's no massive deportation out of this country. You got all kinds of people say they want to be citizens in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Something's wrong with that picture. So if those who are given the authority to do it are not doing it, then the people have to rise up and do it. Just as simple as that. That's not a complicated issue at all. And we have to be very careful when the opportunity presents itself to choose wisely and listen to what God has to say about governing a country. That's going to be our salvation as we move forward. 2025, 2026 and beyond. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. I'll be back tomorrow on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. Have a pleasant afternoon. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. Express yourself on the radio station. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. Have a pleasant afternoon.